আজকে তো Sunday morning.
Saturday morning here in San Francisco
Saturday
Bay
morning.
Area.
Okay, Saturday morning. আচ্ছা প্রথমে উইশ করে দেই হ্যাপি বার্থডে গার্ল, হাউ আর ইউ ফিলিং?
Thank you so much. I'm feeling great. Top of the world.
Top of the world. আচ্ছা, so usually কি এত সকালে ওঠা হয়? Do you wake up this early or?
I do. I have 2 kids. There's no two ways about it. Even if I don't want to wake up, they wake me up. So
Yeah, so always an early riser. Okay, so of course, I mean, I have been talking to you lately. I've been watching your work, but just for for the audience, if we could give a little bit of an introduction of yourself, like say, for instance, where did you grow up and how did you become this beautiful, gorgeous storyteller, a filmmaker, and a writer at this point of your life? So, if you could briefly get this note, like how did it all start?
absolutely, it would be a pleasure. Thank you for having me on the show. First of all, I was born in Calcutta. And so ancestrally, both my parents are Bengalis, and my father moved to Kuwait, and soon the family followed. So I was about 3 or 4 years old when I moved to Kuwait, and I grew up in the Gulf. During the war, we were displaced, and we were in India. That was my shortest stint in India, where I was in Delhi. And post-liberation, we went back to Kuwait. I finished my high school there. And then I got into med school in India. And my family decided to immigrate. And we moved to Toronto, Canada. And so my folks live up there for the past 27 years or so. So, I was, I don't know, I'm not doing the math right now, too lazy to, but I was about 17, 18 at the time when we moved to Toronto. I did my undergrad in Michigan, and after that, I relocated to California. Yeah, I mean, I was in Michigan in the US. I did my undergrad there. I actually finished my undergrad there. I have a bachelor's in management information systems and a minor in supply chain management. And I went to Stanford School of Business a couple of years back for a year in executive education and corporate innovation. My academic credentials are in technology. It's in technology side, management side, and I was leading technical publications group working for a cloud security company here in San Francisco Bay Area. It was a satellite office. I was the headquarters is in Seattle, and many years, 17 years of technology experience. What started happening is I was always a writer. That's the background I have. I was into writing and in creative writing, in technical writing, in different kinds of sorts of writing, always into writing somehow. And I came into the movies. Here's the segue into this. I came into the movies through writing. And I started developing screenplays, and I was self-taught mostly, but then I went to school for some courses, and there's a SFDS school here, which I went to, San Francisco Digital Filmmaking School. And I really got involved in it. And then once I was serving screenplays, I was also volunteering at local independent film, communities, helping indie filmmakers. I was in different roles. One of my good friends who actually picked up on my skills said that I have a lot of art direction skills, he thinks, that needs to be just kind of put together. Because I was into painting and designing and all of that. And I was very creative in a lot of the art forms that come together for art direction and creative direction. And so I started doing that for a lot of films. I was doing script editing and then script supervising and then art direction. I generally fell into the production design bracket. I became a production designer on a couple of good projects, which were a little bigger than just smaller indie efforts, local efforts. And then that's when I realized I was also doing a little bit of theater, that I have a lot of flair for direction, and I've always wanted to be a director. Let me go back in time. I knew I would be a director at the age of 14. I didn't know how. I don't know how, because my family comes from pure sciences background. We come from a family of engineers and doctors and scientists. So there was no background in this specific form of art. And anyway, so I fell into that. So I decided in 2011 that I decided to helm the strings, reins of direction, and I picked up a script and adapted from it, rewrote it. It was my first film.
The first one.
Yeah, it was Untread, sci-fi, 17-minute sci-fi thriller, and it was about memories. A guy, 3 days of his life is lost through a scientific experimentation, and a lot of movies around that time came out around the same theme. I think that was a hot topic around that time. There was a lot of studies, and there was a lot of sci-fi element, which I was very happy to develop because I came from a technology background. And interestingly, the AirPods that Apple has, I had actually envisioned something like that in my little indie movie. And if you go back and watch it, in 2012 is when I had actually come out with the design, and then there were like really cool things that I did, and I see a lot of that happening now. So it's really cool. Sci-fi is a very a genre close to my heart. I'm a huge fan of Stanley Kubrick, Christopher Nolan.
Wow. So you do watch a lot of sci-fi.
I do. I'm typically updated about those. So that's one thing that I'd go for if I have the time to watch. So anyway, so then I had a host of other projects. I started picking up one by one, and confidence built up. My teams got larger and larger. I groomed a lot of local teams. Of course, for the last one, the Nair House, a lot of my team was from LA and stuff. And from the professional background, and I think only like 15% of them are not, they're amateurs. They're hybrid.
Yeah.
So I mean, starting from the actors and everyone, they were all
mostly yes. That's what they do. That's their bread and butter.
So as you just said, that the fact that you've learned during those years while assisting, how much did that help, and was there someone that you were inspired by, like, okay, she's the lady, this is the man, or this is the woman that I want to, work like, or what are the things that you've picked up?
So, my experience was very limited to not I wouldn't call it professional filmmaking like you would have it in Hollywood, right? These are people who are trying to break in here in San Francisco Bay Area, which is not home to filmmaking, really. I mean, there are a lot of filmmakers and a lot of awareness, a lot of things going on right now. But when I had started, there was barely anything, and very small distributed groups around in the Bay Area. So I would say that nobody was particularly inspirational at that time. I was just learning. And I don't know, it's almost magical that this came to me just on its own, like as if it just opened the doors and said, hey, as if I was always primed before. I almost felt like I've been here before. I've known how to do this, which is very, very obviously. Obviously there are things I've learned on the way, and I've polished, and I'm constantly learning and evolving. But generally, I would say emotionally and spiritually, I was just so aligned already. My biggest inspirations were I didn't particularly work with them per se. I have a friend who was phenomenal and who's always inspired me. He was also a techie. He moved back to Bombay. From Bay Area to Bombay, and to pursue filmmaking, and that was inspirational, like leaving something that you're good at to do, those are the kind of personalities that influenced me in becoming who I am. taking risks. But in terms of directing, and I think that directing came very naturally to me because I kind of delve into a lot of different forms of art. And I felt like I had really good creative control if I'm the director. Like I had a lot to say about acting. Now I've done bits and, I wouldn't really call it substantial acting, but I have acted. And I've played around with that medium. But I enjoy working with people to bring out the best in them in one sentence.
Yeah.
So I knew right away if I have leadership skills and I know that I'm people driven. And I know I'm project driven and I'm vision driven, and I have a good handle on a lot of the different aspects of filmmaking, then I am a director, right? So I had that inner confidence, I think, going into it. I actually never thought that I wouldn't do it. I never think like that. Even if I'm not making it, I'm always thinking that I'm making it. So it doesn't even matter. I don't need self-talk. I don't need anybody to tell me anything. I just know. I'm like,
Your first job as an assistant, so-called, like the real, as we say, assistant director, which project was it?
I was never an assistant director. Here's the thing. I was always an art director and production designer. And that's what I was saying. I just picked up the screenplay and I said, I'll direct. I used to direct a lot of stage plays. And I knew the film medium. I knew the camera angles. I knew how the sets moved. I knew basics of it enough where I felt like I can direct my first shot. Yeah. So I just jumped into it. I saw other directors. I learned. I studied up. So I used to. Here's the thing, though. Internet was my best friend. I read interviews of directors. I read about their styles, different styles of acting. Constantly reading up, absorbing, watching a lot of movies. The movies are the kind of movies that I would want to direct. Or that inspire me, and I saw the connection points. I made notes, and that's how I grew. And I basically did not go through the conventional route at all, which is it's a double-edged sword because you learn things along the way. And in my case, I did not really have a mentor, and that's very important, mentorship. So I tripped, I fell, I got up, I learned again, I built again, and then again I fell. And that's how my journey has been. But I have been just talking myself into it. But one thing that has happened over the years is that I've gained a lot of supporters. I've gained a lot of blessings from people. I would call them blessings because that's what it is. It's a lot of love, it's a lot of support, and it's a blessing from whatever, the universe, if you might call it. And that inspired me. In fact, there were days when I just couldn't keep up with my 9-to-5 job. In a pretty leadership, in a leadership role, and I was, wanting to go up the ladder, and then there were kids at home, and then there was so much work, and then I went to Stanford. During that time, I actually shut down filmmaking. I said, a year of my life, I'm going to invest in school. And that was eye-opening because I said, you can't really be a filmmaker if you stop exploring. If you stop studying, if you don't travel, you don't study, if you don't talk, if you don't interact with your surroundings, and you don't learn something new, you're always going to be in the same cycle, doing the same thing over and over again, right? So you need a lot of creative, for the creative minds to be completely stimulated, there needs to be a lot of these external stimulants, right? So I did that, and at that time, I actually did think about not really coming back to filmmaking. I had by then won quite a few awards for a music video that I had made. And
the one with for moms.
The one for it's a Diva Mom Song. Yeah, I conceptualized something a little bit out of the ordinary. Picked up real-time moms from the Bay Area who symbolize all these, were symbols of all these qualities. And then the idea was that diva is not physical beauty. It's something that lies
Yeah.
within. So anyway, yeah, so I did quite a few different things, and I made a couple of more dramas, and then I thought, now I think it's time to put that away, and then focus on my career, which was going well, and I could and I did get a lot of great opportunities, which I said no to.
Yeah.
And it's the people. It's funny. It's how that has happened. They're like, you cannot stop making films. You cannot. You're a great storyteller. We always are very curious about what you're going to do next. So then I started thinking that, it's funny that people believe in my dream.
Yeah.
They think that I can do it. And some people have actually written to me that, don't do, your audience is always hungry for more work. I'm like, dude, are you serious? Who watches me? Really? It's not even there on a big platform. But no, these are friends and family, sometimes acquaintances, random people I've met who've watched something that I've done. So, I got a lot of feedback from people.
Yeah.
Right? And of course, there is film festivals and this and that. And then, there's some accolades here and there. But those are good, but you need a lot more that need to sustain, filmmaking, right? There's money involved, there's time involved, there's people involved. So, yeah.
So coming back to the first film, I would say, like not the short film, the one which I saw, the Nair House. So how did you manage to do this? First of all, it really did touch me. It was at one point I was like, I wish it was a little longer because I was so into it, but I really liked it. So I wanted to know, like, you were saying at one point to me that while you were shooting this, you were already working. So when did you decide that I should quit job? Was it the film? Was it this film that made you decide that, I have to choose either of this? Like, when did this happen?
It's a good question. So this is how it worked. I was at Stanford, and a friend of mine said, there's a primetime television, she's a co-star and all that. She lives here in Palo Alto. You got to meet her. She comes up and down in LA. And then I said, meet her, talk to her. Maybe you guys can get some creative juices flowing. And I said, I'm not really there. I'm so busy with my stuff. He said, you should, always meet somebody. And there's somebody around with the similar, wavelength as you. I took his advice. So I called up this actress and I said, will you have coffee with me? And we have a common friend, and we spoke and we met, we liked that. And then, that talking to her, I realized there's so many stories bottled up inside of me. She had a story that she wanted to tell. That's actually, I'm talking about the actress of the Nair House, Soma Mitra. And then she sent me a script, and I didn't have time. And I said, you know what? I'm graduating in March. That was 2019. And give me till that much time. And then, after that, I will take a month to write a script, or either yours, adapt from it, or I'll write my own. I'm not feeling it. Whatever the story is, I'm not feeling it. I don't think this is my style. She had something written about a husband and wife, but a very different tangent, very different story, more of a thriller, and it was not. In my mind, I was not connecting with it. So I said, keep it. I will revisit it later when I have the full bandwidth. Anyway, so I finished, and I was invited in March to be a speaker. By then, I had a few speaking engagements. So at work on Women International Engineering Day or something like that, right? Women in STEM. And talk about personal experiences, your growth, and your challenges, and how you overcame them and stuff like that. Was the topic that year. So I talked about myself, and I said, finding yourself in chaos, And I gave that speech. When I went back to my desk, by then I had so many messages and texts and emails telling me how much they were inspired by my story. And a lot of people said, can you do more motivational speaking? Because now I'm feeling inspired by what you just said. And then suddenly I got this idea of the script of the Nair house.
Yeah.
I sat in my car, I
Wow.
called Shoma, I said, we have it. I have the story in my head. In 10 minutes, I had the story A
Yeah.
to Z. I knew exactly the vision of this. There's going to be a couple, there's going to be this woman, and this, she has this problem. How is she going to solve that problem? And it's not the destination that's important, it's the journey that's important.
Yeah.
And how do you get to
Yeah.
that point, right? Because the choices you make in life is a different permutation and combination of different things,
Yeah.
right, that transpire.
Things, yeah.
But what are the things that transpire? And most importantly, what is your inner journey? Right, like
Yeah.
the core of it, and in 37 minutes you can do only so much, right? And so anyways, I did it in my own way, but I said, I have it, I know what I'm going to do, I'm going to write this up. So I took one little scene. There's a chicken curry scene in what Shoma had written,
Yeah,
like she,
yeah.
and then what Shoma did is that she would constantly read my script, give me feedback, and she would like, just help me a little bit there. And
Yeah,
so,
yeah.
she's the second writer, but I had the story. I said, Shoma, I'm writing it, you edit it, and then we'll go for it. That's how the script
Yeah.
came about. Then she said, okay,
Yeah.
I said, I know what I'm going to do. I'm going to do this,
Yeah.
shoot it on 1st of June. She said, Archita, it's April 15th. You're
Yeah.
going to start shooting, and what's your budget? And I mean, what are you doing? Like, how are you going to put a team together so fast?
Yeah.
I said 1 month of pre-production. I'm going to start with you, from whatever. I started that same week. And I
Yeah.
actually kept up with the schedule. I think we
Wow.
started on 8th or 9th of June, and then we finished we actually took 2 weeks, or maybe even second of the week of June. 2 weeks to shoot that whole thing.
Less than 2 weeks. Okay.
Less than 2 weeks.
That's
Actually, no, not even.
Okay.
No, 1 week.
How long? No way.
7
Seriously,
days.
oh my God.
7 days.
Okay, so I mean,
7 days.
That's amazing. That's amazing. So you're trying to say, so this, honestly, this just, well, it's beautiful that how it just happened. Like, you went for, thank God you went for that coffee, and this happened, and this idea came about, and I mean, as you just said,
I have to tell you, I took off from my work. Everybody at my work
Okay.
knew I was going to shoot because it was a known fact that I was a filmmaker.
Yeah.
So when I went, everybody
Yeah.
kept saying, best of luck on your shoot,
so you didn't shoot in San Francisco. You
I
didn't
did,
shoot
I
in-
did. But
Oh,
I
you
took
did.
time
Okay.
off to be
Time
a
off from
full-time
work, yeah.
director at that time. I wasn't
Yeah.
going to work and do all of this.
right.
So
Yeah,
I
yeah.
strategically pick only summers to shoot because I have a 13-year-old. I have responsibilities throughout the year, which I would
Yeah.
like to, with 2
So
kids.
that's around that time.
So
Yeah,
whenever
when
she's
they
off
have-
school is when that's how I have managed my filmmaking career.
I think, I mean, you did brilliant. Like, I don't even know how you managed all that, but also a big credit goes to your husband who supported you a lot. And I think most important is the family. Honestly, if you can get that support from your mom or your husband, your partner, I mean, what else do you? I mean, it is the biggest blessing.
Support system, absolutely. It's not
Yeah.
for the faint-hearted, right? As maligned the industry is, as complicated
Yeah.
it is, and as hard it is, only grit and determination drive you through. It's not just passion. A lot of my friends in San Francisco, in the Bay Area, keep telling me, "Oh, you're so passionate about filmmaking, and this is all your,
Yeah.
it's your inspiration." I said, "Please, reality check. Passion doesn't get
Yeah.
you this far in life. A lot of
Yeah.
people are passionate about a lot of things. That does not
Things,
mean
yeah.
that they can make it. The only thing the reason I'm able to do things, it's because of grit. That's about
Yeah.
it. There are days
Yeah.
when I feel like giving up. There are days when I'm like, I don't think I can do this. This is hard because,
Yeah.
I'm sitting here. This is not the hub of filmmaking, and I have to
Yeah.
network. Now I'm in COVID, and I can't even go
Yeah.
anywhere. What am I going to do?
Yeah.
And this year I had a lot of solid plans of
Yeah.
different things I wanted to do, and
Yeah.
I haven't been. But I'm not complaining.
Yeah.
I have a great life, compared
Yeah.
to so many who are out there in misery, and so many tragedies
Of
are
course.
happening all around me.
Yeah.
But the fact is that I'm not able to do the things that I thought I would. But
Yeah.
you just work with it, you adapt, you move fast, you learn fast.
Yeah, yeah, absolutely. And as you said, family it's definitely very important and gives you that spirit. By the way, your husband did a great job, and I'm sure you did pass my compliments to
I did. I
the
hope
movie. Yeah,
you got the right person because he asked
of course, of course.
bartender.
Of course, I was telling my husband as well, and he's like, I think it's him. Okay, just double check. I was like, okay. That is so sweet. But I even told my husband that, you know what, Archita asked if you're an actor, and I could feel it. He's like, he felt good, like, oh, she thought you were an actor. I'm like, oh, good job.
It's good.
So,
I think he did a great
what
job.
is the
Yeah.
scene with the OTT platforms in USA? So, why don't we see more of Nayar House? So, what I mean is, why don't we see more South Asian stories in the American social online platforms?
It's a little hard for me to gauge what's going on, but I will tell you that South Asian stories are quite the highlight this year. And I think a lot of scripts are getting picked. You will see a lot more of them. Now, the interesting thing about the South Asian diaspora here, it's divided into different parts, different types. Um, you see a typical very, I'm not going to say cliche because it's not right. That's the type of forum that people like. That's the type of stories people associate with. But you see a lot of stories on the typical, I'm just going to this is all hypothetical, right? Like a Punjabi taxi driver. Stereotypes, right? And then the Gujarati motel
Why do we
owner.
why do we always see
Gujarati motel owner, or in typical roles that people, the aunties are bitchy, and this is happening, that's happening. Narrow-mindedness, or I'm a vegetarian, and this, a lot of stereotypes, right? And actually, some of that probably does exist in society, and some people relate to it. So we've, and I don't think there was like really strong. Two parts to it. People weren't given as many chances, right? Diversity was very, very low. Now there's a great effort in bringing it up. And second, maybe that those are the stories that some people associated with, right? But here's the thing: there's a lot of people moving away from those kind of stories, and they have their own things going on, and they have their own lifestyles, and they have meshed into the society a lot more. So then there's that group of people, and then there's people who hold on to both, right? So the South Asian diaspora is actually not one huge diaspora. It's different kinds of people from all over the world and all over different backgrounds. So the Nair House has a unique perspective because I've grown up in 4 countries, and I have a very different take on some of the things, right? I'm able to switch between, seeing reasons that, or intricacies of the mind, I would say it, on a very people who are born and bred in India and the ones who are not, right? So, so maybe that's why the flair is a little different, which is also hard to digest for a very American crowd. Now, most of the Americans who have watched my movie loved it. Some, they had a problem with the story. They wanted to see more, or they wanted to see where it's going. Like you said, and they felt like, how did she discover herself? We want to see how, right? That was a different take, but then it was an interesting side to them. In fact, a lot of people commented on how they've never seen Indians in such lavish, setting, and that actually was a very interesting to them, right? And in that kind of with that kind of tone, right? And so. The way I structure my movie is I don't have any. I try not to have any biases. I tell stories as they are and as I'm seeing it. Right. I'm not going to do it for commercial reasons. If I put a character like this, then that's going to sell. So I'm an indifferent maker. I'm the producer. I'm the executive producer. I'm the writer. I'm the director. I get to do everything or whatever I want. So bear in mind, I don't have the pressure. Right. To succeed. I don't have the pressure to succeed. So at that time, you are shooting for the moon, right?
Yeah.
You're shooting
Yeah.
for the moon, you're telling the stories you want to tell, you think people will connect, and you are creative. You can go do whatever you want. Right now, budget was a issue, but I tried to, because I was self-financed, I was able to lift it up as I wanted and dream big in areas that I wanted to, indulge in. And so that's how it came about. But there are a lot more good stories coming up. I am part of a lot of different networks in among South Asian filmmakers, and I can see
Yeah.
a lot of good stories are being formed. A lot of screenplay awards are being given out, and channels are picking it up. So OTT during COVID has gone through this, transformation also, right? People are all
Yeah.
into it. So their
Yeah,
audience
yeah.
has grown and this and that, and you will see a lot more of this.
I've heard that you are pretty keen and towards making documentaries as well. Are you planning to make any, or are you?
I am making a documentary right now on California wildfires. So, a totally different kind of a subject, also covering, talking about inmates who are fighting these wildfires. So I don't want to go too deep into it because we're still editing and forming our, the thread of the footages we have. But in short, it is about California wildfires, and as you know, California has been hit so hard, so has Portland, and it's been a tough year. So I kind of wanted to delve into all these areas where people are forgotten, or there are issues or challenges in the system. There's this systematic effort needs to be put in place to highlight these stories. So that's why I say inmates who were fighting the wildfires. For example, their minimum wage, they didn't even have minimum wage, right? It was 32 cents per hour they were getting paid to put their life on the road. So a little bit of, and then there was a bill that was just passed. So a lot of things are happening that are historical, right? So my idea, coming from sort of a journalistic background, is to capture all these things, these stories. And California wildfires, there's so many people who've been displaced. They were homeless for a little while, and then the city got involved, and the journey in between, the trials, the tribulations, the loss. I want to highlight snippets of that. So the documentary is, I'm working with a co-producer, director in LA. We have a team, and so that's one ongoing project. The other that I started, so you had asked me a question which I never answered. I'm sorry. You said what made me quit my job and take on filmmaking. It's related. I left my job December 2019. For a couple of reasons. One, I thought that it was time to move my career forward. So I had only two ways of doing that. I was getting great opportunities from, top tier companies to head content in their, and then that would require a lot of travel. And that would require a lot of time commitment and sincerity, and that's all I could do. So I was once you get into that leadership kind of a role in bigger companies, there's a lot of eyes on you. You want to grow. I want to be able to, I'm the kind of person, if I'm doing something, I want to do it right, and I want to do it well. It's not just about, I did that because everybody else is doing it, and it was on my checklist. It's not like that, right? So, so that was one. And the second is that I was growing older, and I said, you know what? This is it. I mean, these are the last 10 years of where I'm going to have this energy. And if I'm not going to put it in a place where I'm going to then go and look back, oh my gosh, if I would have done it then life would have been different. I almost felt like I might regret it later. And I'm not that kind of a person. I never look back even upon mistakes. I mean, I say, hey, I learned. That's fine. I don't really no regrets. So I kind of felt that way. So I knew it was time. It was my calling. So I did that. I exited, and I started working on a technology talk show, which I probably will someday. And I was designing it. I wanted to write a pitch, have a a production prototype for it, and look and feel of it. And I was gathering my material and people and things to get some shots in March and April.
Yeah.
That's when COVID hit. And then I was
Yeah.
also working on a documentary feature for DIPG cancer, the rarest
you
form
mentioned.
of children brain cancer, brainstem cancer found in children, with almost 0% survival rate. So.
Yeah.
And so the funding there is very low, and I knew families that were affected. So my journey early this year, was to actually talk to doctors, neuroscientists, and I've been collecting a lot of footages, and I was applying for grants, and that's when COVID hit. So,
Yeah. Yeah.
so that journey
So-
has to be restarted after
Yeah.
I finish the California wildfire. I'm going to go back to the DIPG cancer thing. So 2 documentaries to answer your question.
So I was going to ask that what are your we're almost at the end of our show, but I wanted to know what are your latest upcoming projects. So that would be 2 of them would be these.
Yes,
Documentaries,
and
for sure.
I'm writing a lot of screenplays, and I don't know where.
Yeah. Now, what I want to know personally, when is your next script on? Since you're from Bengal, when are we gonna get more Bengali stories?
Would you like to see more Bengali stories?
Yes, of course.
Absolutely.
I mean,
it's a dream.
I mean, I'm sure you'll eventually.
I actually, so that's another script I have something in mind. I actually it might be English and Bengali both.
Yeah.
It'll be bilingual.
That'll be nice, yeah.
It'll be bilingual, but I am strongly inclined towards it. I never thought I would. Even the Nair House was not something that I gravitated towards earlier on.
Yeah.
In general, I think I never really related to the Bollywood style of storytelling.
This time, yeah.
And I grew up with them, I enjoyed them, but I never saw myself directing one. Let's just put it this way. So I have appreciation for some of that, but I don't really necessarily connect with it in a way where
it's something that we like to
Yeah.
watch and enjoy, have a good time, but then.
I mean, but there
Yeah,
are
as
great
you were
filmmakers like
Yeah, of course.
Rajat Kapoor. I just totally.
Yeah.
I still remember I watched his movie Aankho Dekhi, and I was like, dude, if I'm gonna direct in Hindi, it's going to be like this. So raw, so artistic, so awesome. And there is a story, and then there's a trajectory, and and my characters, what I focus on are not always white and black. They're black and white, and they're different shades of gray. That is interesting to me, because that is exactly how people are. So, so anyways,
I'm thinking since we're doing this show, this is, I think, for me is also a very good opportunity for me to ask this from you, is that someday, inshallah, one day, when you create a story where you tell stories about Bangladeshis as well in USA, and I get to play roles
that.
in your
Absolutely.
direction as well.
I would love that. That would
if
be
I
a
am
pleasure.
alive by that time.
Of course you will be. The question
And
is if I will
if-
be.
And if I stay fit like you, I think I will be pretty confident. I'll do it.
Thank you
But
so much.
and the last question of this show is what to you is a good story? What story is a good story to you when it comes to cinema? I know there's a lot of genres, but then again, what's your personal pick, personal favorite?
Okay, I'm going to skip the genre question because I relate to all genres, and different genres have different flavors. I love thrillers. I have started very recently watching horrors as well.
Okay.
Thrillers are interesting to me. That is probably my to-go in general. Romantic movies or drama related to romance is the lowest on my category. I'm not very fascinated by those. They have to be really that good for me to watch them. But here's the thing. A good story to me is exploration of the character, the mind, and the intrinsic as well as the extrinsic factors in play. And the story can be very simple. right? It doesn't have to be extremely plot driven, which is interesting, and I love watching something like that, and I love making something like that. But at the core, the character has to have a journey. It has to have. I'm not saying there needs to be redemption, but there needs to be some point made about that character to me
Yeah.
inside a story. And of course, the story should be gripping enough in the sense that, it should make a point. If it doesn't make a point and it doesn't have a point, then it's already lost me. And the trajectory, the trials and tribulations of the characters are very important to me, is what I'm saying.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that's amazing. So that to you is a good story. That's amazing. I mean, is there anything else that you would like to cover for our show? I mean, is there something which you would like to highlight? Anything, any of your project or something that you would want to talk about before
No,
we end the show? I mean,
I have a ton of scripts that I'm writing, as I was talking about. I'll just tell you a few that I'm very excited about, and I don't know which one is going to be my next fictional. Nair House, I am trying because I'm still in the process and I don't know how it's going to shape up. I'm making a feature. So you were asking where the characters might. The characters will be Alok and Nisha Nair, but most likely it will be on other stories around them.
Okay.
And
So
but
it'll
they
be
will be
based on
in the
story.
narration and kind of the central figure, but the story is going to be different. But keeping
That's
in light
amazing.
about the feel and the look and feel will be the same, although the stories will be different. And so that's something I'm conceptualizing, to be honest. When I'm saying I'm making a feature, meaning I'm conceptualizing, I'm writing the screenplay. I probably will approach producers, to make it. Then I have a sci-fi script that I'm writing. Then I have 3 other dramas.
okay. So they're dramas. Okay. So they're all hopefully may start next year when COVID ends and when things.
Something.
Better, I mean, obviously.
Something.
Something like that.
One or the other. I can't stay away from my sets for too long.
I'm having a feeling that you'll make very good horror films as well. I don't know why.
Have you watched my Untread? Did you watch it?
No, I couldn't watch it yet. I have to.
So
It's on your channel, right?
yes, it is. And if you watch it, it's my first one. So there's areas of improvement. But my first shot as a director was the toughest I've ever done. It's a killing scene.
That's your first shot.
That's my first shot, and I choreographed the move. I was like, just put into it at the thick of it.
And after that, you were like, everything else is easy now. I got.
But I have that habit of putting myself in such situations, with uncomfortable situations. So it's almost like in the villages they put the kid in the water and they think that the kid will survive.
That's exactly the line.
That's exactly how I have conducted myself in life. I just put myself in the middle of things. And if I die,
and then you have to survive. You have no choice. You have to survive.
No choice. You just have to make it, and we will make it.
We will definitely, inshallah. And this you also mentioned you've been watching lately a couple of horror films. So if there's anything interesting that you see, you must share it with me.
I will. I can't remember from the top of my head. My husband is
I don't know. For me, I hardly like horror films. I'm like, it needs to be really scary to scare me. Even though I get scared anyway, even when watching horror films, I'm like one of those people. I can't sleep in the dark. I imagine stuff. I imagine something. These are all on my imagination. My husband tells me, you never saw anything. You just think too much.
I actually I think directing sci-fi and killing sequences and that just like took the thing out of me, because I now every time I look, this is what I watch. Oh, that shot was directed this way. The angle was here. The blood is coming out from here. So this must be done. The lighting is that way. So I'm actually processing. Half of my mind is the viewer and half of it is actually analyzing it. So my perspective of watching horror is very different from a lot of other people. There are some
Yes.
very few times I get freaked out. Very, very few times. Because when it's cerebral, it gets me freaked out. Because then it's psychological, right? So.
I mean, Archita, I wish you all the luck. I really hope you come up with the best, amazing, I hope you fulfill all your dreams and you come up with the best scripts that we would like to watch, and your films go to the Academy and Sundance and you win awards and you make us proud. And I really mean it when I say this. And it's just about time. There are times when I feel the same as well, like, oh, 2020, I wanted so much, so many things were planned, and it's like I lost everything. And then again, my mom says that, everything has its time. Just let the time decide. You can only do your best, and
Agreed.
the rest will fall into
Things,
place.
the rest will, absolutely.
and it's your birthday, and I wish you so well, and you have a long, amazing life ahead to give us some amazing stories. And I am so glad that I'm speaking to you.
I am
really happy to
too.
be
Thank you for connecting with me, and you're such a dynamo
welcome.
yourself. I'm so excited about what you're gonna do next, and maybe I'll have you on my show right here, right now with
Yes.
Archita, where I'm covering a lot of COVID experiences. So I would love to
Really?
have you as an artist talk to us about what you're doing. I like the way you have pivoted into this forum. And connecting with people around the world. So good luck to you too.
Thank you.